when you're talking about experientials, Bob, and you're talking about metaphors, I mean, these platforms are such rich opportunities, right, for meeting the clients where they are, especially our young clients, where they're digital natives, like, you know, and they've been raised with digital tools all around them since they were born.
Also, I want to say, if you haven't hit the like or subscribe button, please do so. We would love for you to be able to know about all the different programs that we're offering. We're here today with Gina Kanagawa Schwartz, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. What is art therapy?
Art therapy, one of my favorite topics. Art therapy is a specialized mental health profession that weaves together psychological theory and the creative art making process. So in other words, art therapy is the use of the creative art process to promote healing and personal growth. In art therapy, I like to point out that the primary focus in this approach is on the art process, not on the art product. I think this is an important clarification to make because it tends to reduce our tendency towards self-judgment, self-criticism, especially when we're making art, and helps to foster more of a state of non-judgmental attention and mindfulness in the session. I like to put this in, I have my own phrase for describing this to clients, which is we're aiming for art flow, not art show.
Okay, I like that phrase a lot. That's a great way of describing it. I understand that, you know, making art can easily bring about shame and self-criticism. So
absolutely,
I like that you're looking at a way of avoiding that. That's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you become an art therapist?
Art therapists, well, they start as master level professionals who you have to either be certified, registered, or licensed in art therapy to call yourself an art therapist. I'm registered. Licensure is something that's offered in certain states currently. This is actually very new. There's a movement in the art therapy field towards having a license for art therapy. But so far, the state of Washington does not have a license. So I myself am registered as an art therapist. Okay. In order to have those initials after my name, I had to complete a really pretty rigorous and specialized educational curriculum about the theory and practice of art therapy. I also had to acquire many hours of supervised experience doing direct art therapy with clients in the field. I also like to point out that part of the training that we receive as art therapists means that we need to be familiar with and adhere to 2 ethical codes and 2 best practices systems. One belonging to the professional counseling board that we belong to. So in my case, that would be the Board of Marital and Family Therapy, since I'm a licensed marital and family therapist. And then there's a separate set of ethical codes that's put forth by the Board of Art Therapists specifically for us to follow. So we're really following 2 sets of ethical codes and 2 sets of best practices.
I've got 4 big questions I want to ask you. I want to try to get to all of these. Okay. Let me jump out for a big one. And this is kind of a dual question. Can you talk about how you use art therapy in your office, in your room? And then really important, I've heard you talk about this and it was just amazing, how you use it over Zoom.
So in person, and this would be the case whether I'm doing in-person or telehealth, my sessions when I'm doing art therapy tend to follow a common structure. And that is going to be starting with a check-in process. That's where I'm catching up with the client on kind of what's happened, whether it's over the past week or couple weeks, however long it's been since I've seen them. That is more of just kind of a general check-in on how things are. During that process, I'm listening for kind of clues as to where we want to go with the rest of the session. Yeah. So things that stand out right in the check-in, words that come up repeatedly, themes like we've been talking about, and I might ask the client, would you like to explore this thing that I hear kind of coming up repeatedly? Would this be a direction that could be helpful for you? Or do you want to go a totally different direction? Is there something else that you want to spend this time exploring? So that's the check-in process. Then I'm going to be looking to introduce the art materials and also the art directive. And I was talking earlier about that could be structured, right? That could be very focused. That could be an example of a more structured art directive would be, hey, I heard this theme coming up for you in the check-in. And is that something that you would like to focus on in the art exploration today? And they may say yes, or they may say no. If they say yes, we are going to go right into the art making process. And in their mind, they're going to be keeping that kind of theme or that more focused attention, kind of holding it in their mind while they're engaging in the art process. And then if they say no, well, we're just going to keep that. Then I might just kind of ask, what would you like to focus on in the art today? Is there something else that you have in mind that just kind of seems like, I don't know, there's something that's just calling you. There's something that's just kind of pulling you towards that you want to focus more in this direction. And that would be a better use of our time. A lot of times, clients have a sense. They kind of know where they want to go. And especially over time, as my clients are becoming familiar with me and I'm building safety, they can let me know like that what the structure directive that I'm offering just isn't quite hitting that sweet spot for them. And we need to kind of shift gears. So once we kind of figure out what we want to do with the art, we're going to get into the art making process. That's going to take the majority of the session, as you can imagine. I mean, making an art piece, that takes up a good part of your average therapy hour. And during that time, my client is engaging in their art process, and I am observing. And I'm a quiet observer sitting, and sometimes I'm going to make notes if there's something that as I'm watching the art process unfold in front of me. If there's something that I want to come back to, that I want to ask about, that I'm curious about, like I saw this or unfolding in front of me, like in the art making process. So sometimes I make notes to kind of help me kind of come back to things I want to make sure to ask about because I'm curious. Then after we do the art process, well, and I should say, we don't have to complete the art product in one session. And I really like to explain that to clients because there's no time limit on the art making. And I never want my clients to feel like they have to finish like an assignment like within a certain amount of time. We can always come back to the art in the next session. We can always do that. There's also the option that if when they come back at the next session, they don't want to keep going on this particular theme, because maybe it's just not relevant to them anymore. There's always the choice that we don't have to complete the art product because it's not about the art product. It's about the process. So it's not an assignment. There's no grades. It's just for communication and expression. So there's no expectation that they're going to complete the art product, especially within the given session. So after we're done with the art, we're going to save some time for processing. That's the verbal processing part. That's where I'm going to invite the client to reflect on the art making process. So, and then at that point, I might ask those questions, those notes that I made, those observations or things that I saw that stood out to me in the art making process that I think that perhaps there's something there or something that we could just kind of explore, or maybe I could just be curious about what was going on for you at this particular, I saw this, and what was going on for you internally at this point in the art making process. Some examples of like the questions I could ask during the processing time could be like, what was that like for you? What was it like for you to make this art today? What was it like for you to paint with the watercolors? What was it like to sculpt, right? What was it like to play with to feel the clay and to sculpt with the clay? That is one of my number one questions I'm going to ask. Also, what was happening for you? What was happening in your thoughts? What was happening in your body? What was happening in your feelings while you were doing the art? I was wondering if you
ask if feelings come up.
Yes. And I think that making art is such a valuable opportunity to help clients get in touch with what's going on in their bodies and just in their internal world. And that it's sort of practicing that kind of mindful curiosity and non-judgmental presence with themselves, like just kind of noticing, like what is this like for them? What's coming up? What were the thoughts that were just kind of coming up, like while you're engaging in the art? I'm very curious about that.
So one of the things that I was hoping you would talk about is how you use art therapy over telehealth.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So over telehealth, if we kind of back up and think about when the pandemic happened and we all went home, and seemingly or literally overnight made the switch over to telehealth, this was a really big question that I think all therapists and I think those of us who do art or play, we all kind of had to figure out, how are we going to do this through telehealth? How am I going to do art therapy with my clients? Initially, I focused primarily on what art supplies do my clients have access to in their home. And then, and this could be art supplies like crayons, like, a lot of children in particular have crayons, they have markers, they have, basic art materials, but also broadening the range to kind of include too household objects. Like, what kind of household objects, like, can we use? What household objects are in most households that you can have access to, and maybe we could use those. Natural objects, so outside, like, so we started kind of looking, what are the natural elements around the house, and doing, like, going outside, picking up the objects from outside in order to create natural sculptures and things like that. So
like
that's
a pine cone.
Yes, exactly. Like whatever, right? Like whatever appeals to you. Like, it could be, leaves, flowers. I mean, you just name it. So suddenly we were looking at the entire neighborhood, right? Like, what do we have access to, but on their end. And then from there, we tailored the art directives according to that. What do they have access to? So that was initially, and also I would have them, the one downside is that it was very hard to watch the art process through health. It's very hard. Me and my clients over time, we found ways to, create, if you have, having multiple cameras, one that looks at the person, but then having one that's kind of aimed down at the art, right? At the art as it's going, because that's a big part of the information that I'm gathering is from watching the art process. So that took some time to kind of figure out logistically how we were going to do that. And then having them show me the final art product at the end, and maybe take pictures because the quality, the pictures moving and all kinds of stuff on Zoom. That's how we started doing art therapy in telehealth. However, as we keep going with this, and now as this becomes a more long-term solution, where I'm still primarily doing telehealth with my child clients, with my teen clients, with my adult clients, with my families that I'm working with. As we continue doing this, I started seeking out some more training and building up my confidence with using more digital art therapy tools and digital play tools. So it would just make sense, like on Zoom, because we both have computers in front of us.
Can you mention some of those are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite digital art apps that I found, one is a website, and it's actually a free resource. It's called agi.io, and that is a collaborative art making website. And AGGIE.io. And this is a totally free website. And the way that we do this is I have a separate device. I could use the same device that I'm Zooming from, but I like to have a second device so I'm not kind of going back and forth between them. And my client the same. They can actually use the same device, or they can get a different device. We're both logging into the same canvas that I have started on agi.io, and I share that link with my client, and we meet in this digital art making space, and it's so fun. I can see every stroke, everything they do on their end is showing up on my screen in live time right in front of me, and I can do it. I can pick up a tool and draw too, like if I want to. I don't generally do that. Like, I try to kind of keep that to a minimum because I really want this to be about my client, but I could.
That's incredible. And so if you did want to draw a metaphor, you could do that. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And I do that. Sometimes I will do that. Like I will, because I also think visuals are so powerful. What you were talking about, I love having access to a whiteboard. If I'm in my office, having access to a whiteboard is a powerful learning tool, educational tool. So you can picture this. This is a canvas. And if I draw or I write something on there, it pops up on their end. And they can see. We can play collaborative art games this way. Okay. So this is a canvas that I opened up right before our meeting today. I went to agi.io and there's a tab. It just says start drawing. And I clicked on that and then I could choose if I wanted a landscape canvas or a square canvas. There's like lots of different kinds of shapes and things that you can choose. I got the long one, so I did the landscape one. So then I get this code up here. And this is what I share with my client. So I would just copy and paste this. It is helpful if you can send this before the meeting, because, or if you have a client who has a parent who's accessible for tech support, because it is for like younger kids, I think it can be a lot to like open up another tab and like put in this code. So it is helpful if you think you're going to use this with a client to send this address right here to the client, because when they type that in on their end, I'm actually going to use a different device here so I can show you guys. This is really cool. So Agi is a collaborative art making app. So here on this screen, I have another device here. This is the same canvas as that. So I'm on the same website, the same canvas. And you can tell because there's actually, you can see actually on this screen here, there's little profiles here to show that there's two of us here, right? So that's both my devices in this case. But if you were doing this, it would be you and your client here. So now here's the cool part. So if I go here, I'm going to choose a tool. I'm just going to do the painting. I'm going to choose a color. I could choose any color. I'm going to go with blue here. And I can draw on here. Ooh, it's lagging a little bit, so it's gonna look a little, okay. And then, see, it showed up on here. So everything that is happening on this screen is gonna show up here in real time. So every time they draw something, they write something, there's a text thing in here. They can write words. It's basically like a whiteboard with a whole lot more tools, right? Because there's a full color spectrum and there's all the tools on the side that you see there. So and then if I go on here and I draw, let's see. Oh, whoops, hang on. So see how that works there? And then the other thing I can do is I can real easily take a screenshot. So that's pretty much how Agi works. And we can play collaborative games together. There's a game that I love to play with clients called the Scribble game. And that's where usually the client will scribble like on it. And then we look at the scribble and I ask them to find something in the scribble and bring it out with the drawing tool so that I can see what they see. And it's kind of fun, like doing a little bit of a guessing game too. Like, can I guess what you see? Like, can you add enough detail and enough information that I can actually see what you see and I know what you see, right? And so that can just be like super fun.
So for the therapist out there listening to this, I'm hearing three different things that can happen. You can draw something and hold it up, or your client can. You can use the whiteboard function in Zoom. Mm-hmm. Or you could go to the website you're talking about, mm-hmm. And what a fun idea that is.
It's like magic.
That's just incredible. So,
one more thing I want to say about that is that Agi.io. Here's the other reason that this was highly recommended to me in a training that I took at Loyola Marymount University, that's actually where I got my graduate degree. They did a training at the beginning of the pandemic on this, and one of the really great things about Agi, it doesn't require any personal information. There is no you don't put your name in. There is no verification of your identity. So wow. This is very safe and private. Cool. And nobody can go onto that canvas except you and your client. So this is another draw, particularly for Agi, because you don't have to worry about, there's no confidentiality violations or anything like that with that. Yeah.
I want to change the direction just a second here.
Okay.
Can you speak to the peer consultation group that you're leading?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I am very excited about that group. So recently, I guess like about 2 months ago, we started a child and family peer consultation group at A Better Way. And I'm facilitating that. And we're actually meeting today for the second time, and I'm super excited about it. So that the peer consultation group is an opportunity for anyone from our team who works with children, teens, families, parents, any of those things, to come and benefit from hearing from the rest of us who are working with those populations. Because let's face it, those are challenging populations. And just like parents need support, we child and family therapists need a lot of support because this is hard work that we're doing. So at A Better Way, we now have this very supportive group that meets once a month, and we can discuss themes that are specific to those populations that we mentioned. People can bring cases in to get consultation. Today, I invited people to bring in a tool or a technique or a resource that they really love that they have used with these populations to share with the rest of the group. Because I think it's important that every time we meet, we hear from every person who attends, and it's not all like me talking and that. So I really want to get everybody participating and sharing. So because we all benefit from hearing from each other how each of us is doing this work. Because there's so many different ways of working with kids and teens and families. So it helps all of us think outside the box, which is what I find exciting about it.
Can you conceptualize at some point in time, maybe down the road a little ways after you've done a few more of these, having one that you open up to the public for therapists who are outside the agency? I mean, we got a lot of therapists in the agency who want information, but could you imagine doing that on a larger scale with people outside of the agency?
Absolutely. Actually, the place that I got the idea for this group was because I was a part of a child and family peer consultation group locally. That was fantastic. And I just walked away from every single one of those consultations with a new list of techniques and tools and things that I wanted to try with my clients. That group disbanded because, or at least it stopped meeting because of the pandemic, and it hasn't gotten back together again. But it was such a great experience and such a great source of support for me. And I would love to eventually be able to provide that too, if it's still needed. And and if there's interest, which the group that I was a part of before, there was a lot of interest. It actually was growing over time. And then the pandemic hit, and then it just kind of stopped. And there was a hole there. So I would absolutely be open to opening it up to the community. And I got to meet a lot of child and family therapists locally that way. Yeah, it was really nice.
Are there any other things you want to say?
You know what? I would say I could say a little bit more about my using digital play tools in my work with my clients, since that's my newest thing. So as the pandemic was continuing, I talked about how I kind of made the switch to doing more digital art therapy. Well, at the time too, I started to become curious about digital play therapy tools. And I sought out some specialized training with Dr. Jessica Stone, who wrote the book Digital Play Therapy. And so she's a specialist in this, in using digital play therapy with her clients. And that really helped me to build my confidence. I was particularly in the area of how do I protect client confidentiality and privacy when I'm going into these digital platforms, like these digital video games, like, these online platforms. My highest concern was protecting my client's confidentiality. Once I had a handle on that, I started really expanding and exploring incorporating certain digital platforms like Minecraft, Roblox, Animal Crossing. These are some of the big ones that I've been using with some of my child clients who were demonstrating that was a particular interest for them. So they were already talking about it. We'd already spent a lot of time in session talking about it. So what I've been doing over time as the pandemic has continued is just kind of taken that to another level and learning how to meet them in the digital space so that we can interact in those platforms. So Minecraft is kind of my newest one. And Roblox and Animal Crossing are the three that I've used so far. When you're talking about experientials, Bob, and you're talking about metaphors, I mean, these platforms are such rich opportunities, right? For meeting the clients where they are, especially our young clients, where they're digital natives, and they've been raised with digital tools all around them since they were born. So this is it's a very familiar platform for them. And so then when I'm entering in, it feels like they're letting me into their own world. And sometimes literally that's what's happening. Like in Minecraft, I'm literally seeing worlds that my clients have built, and they're giving me tours, and we're building things together, and we are collaborating, and the sky's the limit. There's a lot of information out there. Particularly, there's a resource that I would recommend called Geek Therapy. And geek like GEEK, Geek Therapy. Yeah. And one of the leaders of that is Sophia Ansari. And that is a website. They have a website where they're training in how to use Roblox, how to use Minecraft, lots of these different really super popular games. Fortnite is another one. And they have free trainings for how to do this and incorporate these tools with our clients. So that's something I'm just really excited about, and it's becoming a new part of what I'm doing with clients. And I just find that to be another just really rich vehicle for getting to know my clients, communicating, working towards therapy goals. Like, how do I use this? How do I use Minecraft to teach social skills, right? Friendship skills, conflict resolution, frustration tolerance. Frustration tolerance is kind of a fun one to work on in the video game, because if you can choose a video game that is kind of more frustrating, well, there's a great opportunity for your client right in front of you in real time, having that experience of feeling frustrated, and then working together to practice. How do we tolerate that? Right? How do we work through that really uncomfortable feeling?
Highly experiential.
Yes. Right there in the moment. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. It's exciting.
So when can we expect your book to be coming out?
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's on my list of things, someday, maybe.
I think the world needs what you have to offer and what you have to say. There's so much here that you've shared, and there's so much that we didn't have time for. There's so much that you offer. I love what you offer our team. We have a little over 20 therapists. I love what you offer our team. I'm really excited to see what you offer the world. I'm envisioning a book, a TED Talk, and a national platform for what you have to say. Because I really think that what you have to say is that valuable. And your spirit, your heart, and your presence is so important. It's such a way to engage clients. It's also a way to engage therapists who want to learn. And I just could not be happier to have you here today speaking to us. I'm so excited that we got to do this.
Thank you. Me too. This was so fun. Thank you so much.